Welcome to Your Biz, Your Rules with Dara Paddy, the podcast here to help you weave the perks and quirks of your personality into your business. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you never miss another episode. Now let's get to it. Hello everybody and welcome back to Your Biz, Your Rules. I am almost giddy today with my latest interviewee, and I say almost because I'm not one to express all that much emotion, especially the positive ones. So anyway, side note, I'm really excited to introduce the one, the only, the lovely Bushra Azhar.
Bushra. Oh my God. Again, just kind of recovering over this faint display of emotions that you just threw my way. So let me recover over that, and then you can go on and introduce me. But thank you. It is such an honor to be here.
I'm really pleased to have you, and I think it's going to be a good one. We're trying to outdo Tara's episode because Tara works for lovely Miss B, so there's a little bit of competition there.
Yeah, it's a little bit of conflict of interest. If I knew she was doing it, I probably had asked her to go low on the charm so that it was easy to outdo her, but she did not go low on the charm. It was an amazing episode. You guys had the best chemistry. And those of you who have not listened to that episode, you should go listen because it is pretty dang awesome. But we will try and outdo that one. Let's see.
Okay, so before we start, introduce yourself. Tell us what you do and what you're all about.
Like, that's the hardest question ever, because for the longest time, I never really, I'm good at elevator pitch. I'm good at selling myself, but I'm not really good at telling someone who I am, because that's kind of a loaded question. But I'll give the more shallow answer. My name is Bushra Azhar. I'm the founder of the Persuasion Revolution, and I have a business that teaches tiny businesses how to make big bucks using the psychology of persuasion. I am a mom of two, wife of one, live in Saudi Arabia of all the places, and yeah, it's an interesting life. It's an interesting business. Even I think it's interesting. I don't know what people think. People mostly just think that I'm a depraved Muslim woman who probably has to iron clothes and wash dishes all day, which I don't even remember the last time I ironed something. So it's an interesting life.
See, I am always in awe of what you do, because you've just got this way of attracting people to you and to your world. And I know it's really weird because you don't actually like humans all that much.
Yeah, look who's talking. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Look at you passing judgment on me wearing all this raspberry pink lipstick when I'm not wearing any lipstick and I look like shit. So sorry, Miss. I want to use a bad word, but I don't want to because I'm not sure who's listening in my house. So yeah, Miss Goody Two Shoes. You also do not like humans. So please don't pass judgment on me. Yeah, I don't like humans. But you know what? I actually don't dislike them as much when they're behind a screen. So I think that kind of works. The idea that as long as they're behind the screen, it's all good.
It's one of the benefits of running an online business.
Absolutely. I think one of the biggest benefits, the fact that you don't have to sit there, pretend to smile. You can always switch off the camera. They cannot see you. You can be making all of those ugly faces, groaning inwardly at the stupidity of human nature, and they won't even know it. You can't do that in real life because they can read it on your face. So it's kind of hard to fake enthusiasm and love and devotion when you are face to face with people, but you can totally do that on the internet. And that's awesome.
I love that. Because I'm a big eye roller. When people say stupid things, I feel like I'm getting eye strain. They're rolling so hard. So it's really nice.
One of these days, my eyes will permanently roll back into my head and they will never come back. That's honestly what I think. They will permanently just get stuck somewhere inside my cranium, and then I will never be able to bring them back because I roll them so far back sometimes.
Okay, so it feels a bit weird that I'm now going to ask you for tips on growing such a rabidly loyal tribe of followers.
So it's interesting. I think the biggest tip is what we just did in the last 5 minutes. And I think that's kind of the biggest step. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of persuasion and audience building and list building and all of that, I think really what it boils down is that you have to decide at the get-go whether you want to be a hell yes for 50% of the people and hell no for the other 50%, or do you want to be a whatever for 100%? I choose to be a hell yes for 50%. And the other 50% absolutely detest my guts. And that's absolutely okay with me, because honestly, I don't want them anyway. So I think that's kind of the first thing, that polarity, that agreement with yourself that I will never be for everyone. I am not going to be for everyone. I am not Nutella. And do you know that there are people out there who do not like Nutella, and that one of those people is sitting right next to me and smiling at me because you're a cheese person and not a Nutella person. So I don't care. Nutella doesn't care. Nutella has 50% people who are a hell yes. So even if people like D are a hell no, Nutella doesn't give a shit. So that's kind of where I am. I have decided to be a hell yes for 50% and a hell no for the other 50%, because being a whatever in business is a kiss of death. And I do not ever want to be a whatever. I want people to sit up and take notice when I say something. And yes, that means that on purpose, there are some things that I say that are outrageous. And yes, I do not hold back, and I do say them because I want that hell yes or hell no. I want to have that distinction at the get-go.
I love that. And I think so many people are afraid to do anything they think is a little bit controversial or they think might offend certain people. I remember like a few weeks ago, I sent out an email to my list, and I think the very first word was an F-bomb. But do you know what? In the subject line, I did say, this is going to be a rant, so beware. And then I did get a response saying, like, I can't believe you would swear in the very first line and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, bye then.
So that's interesting, because if you'd swore in the 21st line, that would have been okay, right? But it's not okay to swear. I don't get people. We're all adults over here. Come on. But that raises an interesting point. I think there is that element of being controversial and deciding who you are. And I'm not saying when I say who you are, I do not mean in terms of embrace yourself and be yourself. That's not what I mean. I mean that we have, as women, we have a habit of holding back on saying inappropriate things. In real life, I do that all the time. The way I am with you, with Tara, with my team, with my people is not the way that I would talk to my neighbors, or not the way I would talk when I'm sitting in a family gathering. So I do hold back on being myself. But when we do that in our personal life, it's okay, no harm done. But when you do that in business, you're doing yourself a massive disservice, because you're holding back. And by holding back, you're attracting the wrong kind of people. You're attracting the kind of people. So if you had not dropped that F-bomb in the first line, you would have attracted people who'd be the prim ones. You don't want prim ones. You want psychos, kind of like you, who smile and are all pretty, but inside they are planning your murder. That's the kind of people you like, because that's the kind of person you are. I'm passing judgment on you and you're smiling at me. Stop doing that. It's very unsettling.
But you're correct. You're correct in everything you're saying.
So that's kind of, I think when we hold back on our personalities in personal life, sometimes we have to do it. So I'm not balls out, honestly, in real life at all. I do hold back because I respect the culture that I come from. I respect the traditions that I come from. And I don't think my parents and my in-laws are ready to face the real me at any point. And I don't want them to go through that trauma. But when you do that in business, you actually lose money. You actually do lose money, because you're attracting wrong people, which means they might end up being on your list, but they will never buy from you. Or they might buy from you and then they will make your life bloody hell. Or they may be ideal customers. They buy from you, they're all good, but then something goes wrong and you show your true colors and they'll be like, who is this psycho? The fact is, you've always been a psycho. You've just been hiding it and they were mistaken. So it's a loss for everyone.
I think when you start working with people as well, there's no way to hide it, especially if you do any kind of one-on-one work. They will see the real you. So you should really give them a taste of that before.
Always.
So that everyone can make the right decisions.
Yeah, everyone can make the right decisions and everyone can know who they are, what they're signing up for, honestly. Because we're not corporates. We throw so much of ourselves in our work. We literally throw our blood and tears and poop and everything, sometimes our poop, in our work. And I don't mean that literally, just in case you're wondering. I just mean literally everything. So yeah, it is a reflection of who we are. It embodies a lot of our values. When you write copy or when you write things, once I had to write copy about this person who had created a playlist, a music CD for. I don't even know the term but it was a dungeon music, and it was kind of so it was meant to facilitate certain activities that take place in dungeons. And I was like, okay, I don't even know where to start writing copy for this. And that was my early days when I used to write copy, and I'm like, okay, I am the most unadventurous person when it comes to this. I don't even know where to start. And I had to go back to him and say, I can't do this because I don't even know how to express why this is exciting. To me, it just seems like a lot of work and a lot of sweat and other bodily fluids that just cross me out. So honestly, not interested. But this is what I mean. It's harder for us to remove ourselves from our work. We are so involved in our work that we need to like it, and we will end up showing a bit of ourselves. So I was like, listen, unless you want your dungeon CD music to sound like a prude wrote it, honestly, don't make me write copy for this, because I can't.
I mean, I don't even know how to follow that.
Yeah. Exactly. You're trying to digest it, and you're like, I can see the indigestion creeping in your face. I know, but really, that's that's what it is. Oh, once someone also offered me, he wanted to hire me to write copy for devices for recreational drug use. And I was like, okay, well, I don't even know what recreational drugs are. But then I did a little bit of research and figures I actually know what recreational drugs are. And I was like, okay, what devices do you need? Isn't it just inhaling and smoking? Are there devices? So apparently there's a whole industry for devices that you use for recreational drugs. And again, I had to pass on that because I'm like, okay, I'm not sure that's the kind of thing I have any expertise on. I don't even know how to put that thing in a device. Okay, well, yeah, apparently there are devices, the whole industry. Look it up.
Well, we're learning something new here.
Yes, you are.
So do you have any tips for building this kind of crazy authority online when you don't really have a following or any funds to put behind it?
So when it comes to list building or audience building, I think I've tried every possible list building strategy that's out there. I literally have tried everything. I shot off taking off my clothes. I've tried everything when it comes to list building. And one of the things that I've found is that if I were to divide the whole thing into two categories, free and paid, I think when it comes to free ways of growing your list, hands down, the best strategy that I've found has been guest blogging. Hands down, nothing compares to it. So not only did I get my first, I think, 2,000 subscribers from a guest post, I also got my first sale from a guest post. So I guest posted in a number of places, and one of those, some guest posts kind of flopped, they didn't do so well, but there was one guest post that someone read the guest post, followed the link to my website, and then reached out to me and said, I want to hire you. I'm looking for your services page. Where can I hire you? So that is the power of a well-placed, well-crafted guest post. So honestly, if you are looking to grow your audience from scratch, you're at absolute zero and you don't know where to start, the very first thing that I would do is I would reach out to top industry blogs in your industry, in your category, and just beg them, bribe them, or just go sit at their doorstep to get them to guest blog. And people are like, oh, but they will not give us a link back. Even if they don't give you a link back, that does not matter. If your guest post is good enough, people will look you up, they will find you, and they will come back for you. So honestly, hands down, that has been my favorite strategy. In fact, in 2018, so I didn't do any of that in 2016 and 17 because I was focusing more on, because I has money. And once I has money, I started putting money in Facebook ads. So I was like, I can just buy traffic. But here's the other reality. The traffic that you get from Facebook ads versus the traffic that you get from a guest post, the quality is completely different, because those people who read your guest post, when they come to your website, they're already convinced that they want to know more about you. So obviously the quality is much higher. So in 2018, I want to place a lot of focus on guest blogging, going back to doing more of those guest blogs, because I feel they are hands down the best way to not only, so three things, not only grow your base, establish your authority, but also get that authority by association. So if you get published in a good publication, there is that authority by association. Just because you are on an authoritative website, people look at you and think, oh, you're authority too. So there is that element of authority by association. So hands down, the best thing that I would recommend anyone who's starting out to is to start with guest blogging.
Do you have a strategy for picking the publications that you would pitch to? Because I know I've seen an awful lot of people do nonsense like just swap blog posts with a friend who's at a very same level in a completely different field and stuff like that.
No, actually, so I do have I do actually have a full guide on this, and I would love to gift it to your people if you're interested. They don't have to sign in for anything. I will just send you the PDF and you can link it out if you want. Basically, it's a strategy on how to research the guest posts, and then there is an email script to reach out to the editors when you're pitching your guest post. But I think most importantly, there is a step between those two steps that most people skip, and then they're like, oh, I pitched and no one got back to me. I think the step between pitching to the editors and the research, there's one step where it is making a connection with the editor, in the sense that it's something as simple as showing up on their Facebook Lives or tweeting at them or retweeting their stuff, kind of getting your presence known. Because if they have seen you around, if they've seen you tweet your stuff or leave comments on their blogs or share their stuff or show up on their live streams, and then when you reach out to them with a pitch, you're not a nobody. Your name has already registered. Even if it's subconsciously registered in their heads, they know that they've seen you somewhere and they have a positive association with your name. So I think simply the steps would be research the guest post, create a killer pitch, start a relationship with your potential editors, and then pitch to them. And when you pitch to them, also make sure that you don't just throw a bunch of random ideas. The first time I pitched a guest post, that was when I was doing my corporate blog, and I pitched Forbes. And I have to be honest, when I pitched, I was like, oh, she will never get back to me. But I put in a lot of effort in that pitch, in the sense that not only did I take time to research her and her interest and what she was focusing on, but also when I made the pitch, I didn't just say, I have these 3 ideas. I actually said, I have these 3 ideas. This is idea number 1. This is the search engine SEO potential for this. So I actually went and researched the SEO potential and said there are monthly 33,000 searches for this term just in the US. So that's why I'm pitching it to you. It shows that you put in work. No one has ever pitched to me something like this, where they've gone through the effort of putting the idea together. So I said, idea number 1, SEO potential for that idea, and then 5 different headlines for that idea. And I gave them 5 ideas each. So that's a shit ton of work. When you send a pitch like this, people are like, oh my God, she really knows her thing. She really knows what she's talking about. She's eager, and she will come back with something of quality. So I have the PDF. I will share that with you once we're done with this. But also put in some effort. Show that you actually want to be on their website.
Yeah, and I think it's so easy to find out about these people as well, to find out about the editors. Because like we were saying before, so many of us now share all of our personalities online with things like live streaming and social media and everything. You get to learn what people like and what they are interested in outside of just their work. I mean, if someone emails you and starts harping on about Nutella, you're better. Yeah,
exactly. So there are so many things. I remember there was this one editor that I reached out to, I don't even know who she was. And I know that every time she posted something, people were like, or she posted a picture, people were like, oh my God, I loved your hair. So it's not like she was obsessed with her hair, but she constantly was getting these compliments on her hair. So when I sent the email, the first thing that I said was, I have a girl crush on your work and your hair, because I know that that's something that she's used to hearing about. She knows that people like her hair. And obviously when someone gives you a compliment on something, you like it. So you're used to that. But if I'd said something like, I have a crush on your nose, she'd be like, what? What kind of creep is that? Does she want to kill me and wear my skin? Because that's really creepy. But something like that, something that's very light and something that you see that you've picked up, any personal detail would actually work.
So I feel like this leads us nicely into some of the persuasion stuff. So I'd really love for you to, because I love the way you describe what persuasion is, because so many people think that it's like tricking people or conning people into doing something, and it's not that at all, is it?
It's not that at all. There are elements of manipulation to it, but what I want you to reconsider is that we all manipulate. We all manipulate circumstances. We all manipulate situations. We all bloody manipulate our children. We manipulate our partners. The only difference is that when you understand really what persuasion is, the way I describe persuasion is that you have a better handle on how to go about persuading. You have a better handle on how to master persuasion. So the way I look at persuasion is, and you can apply that in any situation and see if this definition sticks, because this definition for me makes a lot more sense than positioning persuasion as a mind control tactic. It is not a mind control tactic. Persuasion is not something that one person does to another person. The way I see it is, persuasion is something that a person does to herself as a response to the things that you expose them to. So your role as a persuader is to expose the persuadee to the right stimulus. That is as far as your control goes. You cannot crawl inside their brain and try to force them to say yes to you, but your control extends to showing them, exposing them to the right stimulus. If you don't know what the stimulus is, if you don't know what will make them say yes, then you're setting yourself up for failure. But at the end of the day, they are the ones who will say yes. Your role is to expose them to the right stimulus to the right person at the right time. So as an example, if someone knows me even a tiny bit, they know that I am not driven by money. I make a lot of money. I enjoy making money, but I'm not driven by money. So every time I receive pitches, and I receive a lot of them that start with, oh, we would love for you to be an affiliate. We pay out this much per affiliate. I don't even read further because they just missed the mark. You're exposing me to a stimulus that does not work for me. It does not do anything for me. So really, a persuader is who has done their work, has an understanding of what makes the other person say yes, and then systematically expose that person to those things. And one wrong move and you're done.
No pressure or anything.
No pressure. Now, actually, okay, I'm probably wrong in here. If it is something that is, I'll probably correct that, because if it is something that is fundamentally against the ethos of that person, then you're done. But if it is something as small as, maybe if they'd started with, we'll give you visibility, I probably wouldn't have had such a strong reaction. But if it is something that is against, like you reach out to a white fundamentalist talking about, we would love for you to support Black Lives Matter. Right. So this is something that is fundamentally, first of all, why would you reach out to someone like that? And second of all, if you do and you lead with this, then you have made the mistake of not understanding what it is that they place value on. What are their ethos? Whether right or wrong, that's not the point. But they have their ethos, and that's when you're done. But small moves here and there, they're fine. But never lead with something that could be, and that's why I recommend never leading with a religious, racial, spiritual, or political angle, because people have such hard stances on this. There's either a clear yes or a clear no, right? So be really careful with using politics, spirituality, race, or any of those sensitive topics when it comes to persuasion.
Yeah, and I think another thing you can do is you can look at the type of creating that the type of content that your customers are putting out there, even if it's just social media posts, because people like to share their opinions. They like
do.
they like. So take note and learn from that.
They absolutely do. And just by hanging out with, just looking at I think the last 5 posts, you can actually see what a person does. I received a pitch, I think last week, 2 weeks ago. It talked about supporting a social cause that I firmly believe in. It referred to my husband as the grumpy cat, which I talk about because Tara gave him the name Grumpy Cat, and we've been using it. The pitch also mentioned both of my kids' name correctly spelled and correctly capitalized, the first name capital, the first letter capital. And I was like, oh my God. As in, it's almost virtually impossible for me to say no to that, because she's literally pressed all my buttons. She's talked about the grumpy cat. She's used the right names, and my kids they're not Johns and Janes. Their names are weird with weird spellings, but she got it all right. So if you do something like this and you just hang out, like spend 15 minutes in their communities or seeing what they share on social media, I think you'll do a good job with your pitch.
So it's funny that you just mentioned the capital letters, because like one of the things that obviously as a writer I care a lot about is things like grammar and spelling and stringing sentences together properly. And I receive pitches all the time that like they don't have a capital letter in them. They have like no commas anywhere, or like your kills me. Y-O-U-R and you-are as in, okay, I understand when you're using WhatsApp, sometimes I'm guilty of, and I'm using WhatsApp and I'm using message, maybe I will write you-are instead of Y-O-U-R. But you don't have that excuse in an email. I am sorry, you're sending a pitch. Please just take a minute to replace that you-are with Y-O-U-R. It's just 2 extra letters. I promise it doesn't cost anything. No one is going to come to you and ask you to pay for those extra letters. It is free, I promise. Use it. Ugh. Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's those little things, but to somebody else the typos probably wouldn't be a problem, but to me they are, because it's like it's a core part of what I'm always moaning about.
Exactly. They don't matter to me, but yeah, I can understand how it would matter to someone like you, because you're a stuck-up bitch. That's why.
Well, there is that.
There's that. And you just want to impose your Englishness on the non-English speaking folks. So there is that as well.
The irony is that usually these pitches are people very kindly offering to help me make my blog posts on my website better.
Yeah. I get that.
Well, no.
It's funny because I've had those, and I think the ones that I received, I think they were justified, because my work is riddled with typos. So it's not like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. It's like 40 typos per piece. So I understand that if someone reaches out to me, it's justified. But the thing is, that's not my focus. My whole idea, my whole mantra, my whole business is all about launch ugly and profit over perfection. I say that all the time. Profit over perfection, always. So that's kind of my thing. If I am going to spend money to do something, trust me, it is not going to be about fixing the typos, unless it's my published book. I'm not going to spend money fixing typos because profit over perfection. I would rather spend that money on Facebook ads because it brings me money. So that's kind of where my focus is.
So you just mentioned your book, and I wanted to get onto that because I know you were just in the UK promoting it, and I'm incredibly bummed that I couldn't make it to London that day. I had the worst FOMO when I saw everybody posting on Instagram. So tell us the book.
Oh my God, the book. So the book came out because everyone said you have to have a book, and I was like, oh really? Do I really have to? I never thought I would write a book. I've always looked at myself as someone who's going to write the next Harry Potter. So I have like really big dreams. I'm not the one to write nonfiction. So I'd never thought that I would write a book. But then I think year before, 2016, people were like, oh, do you have a book? Do you have a book? When is your book coming out? And it's like, okay, pressure. So what I did was that I had a best-selling course called Mass Persuasion Method. I took the strategy part of that course and I turned it into a book. So the full strategy on that I call mass persuasion method. It's a framework that's all about the 8 persuasion switches. So the idea is to look at human brain like an electric circuit. And if you want to spark attention in that electric circuit, you've got to activate 8 psychological switches. And how to activate them all, what are those switches, how do you activate them all, and then specific examples of how you can activate them in your business, in your social media, in your videos, in your copy. That's what the book is all about. And I released it June. Actually, no, last week of June. So I would say July of 2017. And it just blew up. I have no idea what happened. I self-published it. I did not do a book trailer. I did not do a book promo. I just bundled a few bonuses together and I promoted it. It hit hit number 1 in multiple categories. And then the paperback came out and it sold really well as well. And I did the numbers, I think a couple of days ago, and we've sold almost 23,000 copies in less than 6 months. And it's just unbelievable to me. But not all of them are paperbacks. Some of them are, a lot of them, majority of them are actually the Kindle version, but still that's a crap ton of books to sell. And I have no one promoting it. It's just me. I didn't put any ad money into it, but somehow it's done really well. There are a lot of reviews, people love it, and people hate it. So that's the beauty of doing this, right? The 50% hell yes and 50% hell no. There are people who are leaving nice reviews on the book. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. But that's part of business, right? Sometimes people love it, sometimes people don't. But the good thing is that probably out of 310 reviews, I think probably 300 of those are positive. So, but there are still those where people are like, why did you just write? I don't even know. Why does she have to be so chirpy? Why does she have to be so? People have a problem with the way I write. People have a problem with the way I talk. People have a problem with the way that I refer to, I use the pronoun she instead of he, which is weird because no one has a problem when we use he all the time. His client, his business, his work, everyone is fine with. But the moment it becomes her client, her business, her work, we have a problem with it. And we have so much of a problem that we actually leave a review on the book saying that's a problem. That's why we need feminism right there.
Right there. But I'm wondering, like, how do they know you're being chirpy when it's a book? They're reading it. They can read it in whatever voice they want to read it.
That's because, see, it is right. To be fair, I refer to people, my darling buttercup, like every 3 page. So I can understand. So if you are a 65-year-old, almost grandpa trying to be more persuasive for whatever evil reasons, you might be like, I'm not a buttercup and I'm not little. So yeah, I can understand how that would alienate the 50%. But that's the whole idea, right? Hell yes for 50%, hell no for the other 50%. So I'm cool with that.
Do you know what, though? I think everybody should channel their inner buttercup.
Everyone should. I agree.
I bought your book. In fact, the minute you first put it on Facebook that it was on sale, I went and I bought it, but I still haven't read it.
Okay, you gotta read it. There's a lot of buttercups in there to unleash your own buttercup.
Well, I've got this whole stack of business books that I've been like slowly hoarding for the past few months, and my plan for over the Christmas holidays is to get through them all and just read as many as I can. So
yay!
Kyle.
Thank you. I'm truly honored.
So I'd like to know a bit more about the bonuses you put together, because that was really interesting for me, and it's the first time I'd seen somebody do that for a business book. But since you did it, I've noticed a lot of other people doing something similar.
So what happened was that the book was it wasn't supposed to go live the day it went live. I had all these big plans about doing a book promo, and I would do a teaser, and then it just went live. We were just testing out the formats, and then it just went live on Kindle. And I was like, okay, it's live. And now I got to promote it, because if you don't promote it once it goes live, if you don't promote it in the first 4, 5, 7 days, and you don't get a lot of reviews right away, your rating drops. I was like, oh my God, so I have to do something. So honestly speaking, that bonus page I pulled together in like 30 minutes. Okay, what is it that I can offer to bribe people to buy. Essentially, that was my thought process. So I looked at a few things. I had a training that I had done ready, and it was supposed to become a part of a bigger course. And I was like, okay, fuck it. The course can wait. I'm just going to put it as a bonus. So I put that bonus. I'm obsessed with swipe files. I'm a swipe file whore. So I pulled all of my swipe files. There was like literally a swipe file for subject lines, 1,000 subject lines, a swipe file for, I don't know, one-liner jokes, a swipe file for this and a swipe file for that. And I just bundled it all together and I created a book bonus. And I basically just emailed my list because I didn't have a book promo. I just literally came out because the book was already live. I had to do something. So I just said, okay, here's the page. It looks really ugly. Here's the page. Just go buy the book. Send us the invoice, the receipt number, and we will give you bonuses. So it's just kind of crazy, weird how we set it up. Later, we moved the bonuses to Teachable and we made it a little bit better. But right away, it was kind of an emergency and I had not talked to anyone about book promotions. I had no idea how book promotions worked. I was self-published. So yeah, I think I did a lot of things wrong, but accidentally, I also did a lot of things right. So I'm happy with the fact that we've sold so many books. We've sold $45,000 worth of books. It's just unbelievable to me that we've done that. And I'm not a big name. No one knows me. I don't have any affiliates. I had literally had nothing, just my audience and the Amazon ranking system that allowed so many people to actually see the book and buy it. I'm truly honored.
So how was your experience of actually writing the book? Did you have like a special writing ritual or anything like that?
Actually, no. So essentially, I did not write the book from scratch because I already had Mass Persuasion Method. I already had the course. So for me, the writing part isn't, I did not see it as a writing task as much as I see it as a compiling task. So, and same is true for my second book that's coming out, because for me, I'm not starting this from scratch. For me, it's easier. Even if I have to start a book from scratch, I think what I would do is I would put together the course first, because I'm a teacher first. I'm not a writer. I'm a teacher first. So I would put together the course. And then from that course outline, I would compile materials. This is what I did. I had the outline based on the 8 psychological switches. And then I started pulling stuff from my webinars, from the course itself, the strategy part. And I just started filling in the gaps. So it was less of a writing task and more of a compiling task. Because, yeah, I don't know how the next Harry Potter that I'm writing will ever be written, because I am not a writer. I'm a teacher first and a writer second.
So I think you can have that sort of compiling outlook towards your book when you are writing a business book, when it's nonfiction.
Yeah, but not with, I don't know, maybe with fiction too. Once you have the characters and you have the story in your head, it's just a matter of outlining all the characters, deciding when they're going to be born, what terrible blunders they will make, and how they will die a slow, miserable death. Just kind of mapping it out and then compiling the whole thing. So essentially in my head, it seems like the process would be similar. Yeah, but there'll still be more writing. I think with the fiction, there'll still be more writing. But with the nonfiction, it's just a matter of kind of organizing your ideas and then filling in the gaps, putting in research, putting in information, putting in examples, and then just prettying it up a bit.
So book number 2, tell us.
So book number 2 is called The Master Persuader. And it is based on a workshop that we did in Madrid in June, and same thing. So because we created we created a master persuader profile, and the people who attended the session, 2 days workshop, we actually had them develop their own master persuader profiles. And after I did the whole thing, I was like, oh my God, that will make such an excellent book. So kind of based off of that, we're developing it together. Now we were developing it together with the workshop, which will stay on. So the workshop will remain a workshop, but then we also have the book that gives ideas on the elements that go into creating a master persuader. So that's kind of the idea behind the book. I'm really excited about that. It is super, super, super ugly right now. I'm working with an incredible editor who's also, by the way, worked on the first book. And he did an excellent job of kind of editing out the gibberish, because it's funny when someone said, you're so chirpy. I was like, you have no idea how much chirpier I was before he got his hands on this. So I think that is, I think the role of an actual editor who understands how books go, I think it is crucial, because we either, as teachers, we either give too much or we give too little. So either we have the curse of knowledge or the curse of instruction. Right? There are two curses. Either you have the curse of knowledge where you're like, oh, this is clear. I'm just going to write 2 lines and it'll be self-explanatory. Or there's the curse of instruction where you literally roll up your sleeves and dive in and try to teach them everything. And I think you need a good editor to find a balance between these two states, right? So yes, you need to give them something, but you don't need to give them everything. You need to give examples, but you don't need to dive in and act out the example, right? So I think that the role of the editor, a really good editor, really helps with finding that balance.
Is honestly my biggest pet hate when I'm reading all of these either business or self-help or professional development books, is when people self-publish and they don't use an editor. You can tell a mile off when they don't. And using an editor is so much more than just running a spell check. Like they bring so much more to the book. That's what I thought an editor would be. I was so unaware of what a book was that when I posted in my group saying I'm looking for an editor, I actually thought I was looking for someone just to spell check and grammar check my book. And then I realized that no, that's not the role. That's probably the role of what you call it, the copy editing. Is copy editing? No, it's called proofreader.
Proofreading. So it's a proofreader, copy editor. But if you want a line editor who would actually do this, who would exactly take you from that place of going on and on and on about your life story and not giving enough, and that balance, and then coming back to you and saying this part needs more meat, or this part needs you to give more examples. That is the role of a really good line editor. You really need someone who can help with that.
So in conclusion, if you're thinking about writing a book this year, get a bloody editor.
Get a bloody editor and start compiling. Start compiling from now. So because, see, the editor can only take your ideas and make them a lot better. But you have to start with outlining your book. What is it that's going to be in each book? And then start compiling it. Start compiling everything, giving it the shape of a book, at least something resembling a book, before you actually start thinking about an editor. Because editor needs something to work with. You can't just throw words at them and expect them to mold them into a book. So kind of that, I think a lot of that compiling part, once it is done, I think the job of the editor is also easier. The job of the person who's helping you put together the book is also easier.
I think that can definitely be done even if you aren't a teacher the way you are, because people can look at other content they've done. So they can look at their blog posts, they can look at their look at all of that stuff, because we tend to yammer on about the same old things all the time.
Yeah, we do. And for me, I have a phase. So for 2 months, I'm talking about one thing, and then I completely forget about it, and then I adopt a new term, a new fad, and just talk about it for the next 2 months. We forget. Sometimes I listen to my old videos and I'm like, oh my God, I was so smart. What happened to me? Why did I get so dumb? Because I don't realize that in that moment, I was just focusing on that one thing. Or sometimes I listen to my old videos and I'm like, oh my God, I was so dumb. So we all have those moments, but it's nice to kind of keep a track of those things, bring them, compile them, keep them somewhere where you can access them and use them in your book. Because if you're only using something that you wrote, something brilliant that you wrote, if you're only using it once, you are bloody idiot, because that's such a huge waste.
Leaving money at the door.
Leaving money everywhere. Like a 2-penny whore. Leaving money everywhere. Don't do that.
Both the leaving money everywhere and the being a 2-penny whore.
And being a 2-penny whore. Come on, think big. Be a 4-penny whore. Come on.
Okay, so what would you say your biggest guilty pleasure is, apart from Nutella? And how do you weave it into your work?
So I think my biggest guilty pleasure is I don't weave it into my work. I think my biggest guilty pleasure is stalking people on social media. I think it's an obsession, and I think I need to get it into check. So my target for 2018 is that I'm not going to click on a profile just because it looks interesting. I actually go through Facebook, look at the comments, and if someone has left a random comment on a random person's post in a random group, and that comment is interesting, or her name is interesting, or his picture is interesting, I would actually click on that and then try to figure out what they do and where they live and how they live their life. I'm sorry. I don't even know I said that out loud, but I do that. And it's horrible. And it's eating at my life and my productivity. And I just stop doing that because, yeah, I'm just a really curious person.
I think from a silver lining perspective, though, it gives you a lot of information about the people.
About who? Targeting. About who exactly? I don't even know who those people are.
All the people. Everybody.
I'm like, what? I don't even know. And I do that so often, and I do that so much that sometimes I actually find someone who knows someone. So I would click on that page and they would be a mutual friend, and I would be like, yes, finally I know someone who already knows someone. I'm stalking someone who knows someone. It's just weird. And I need to find a way to, I just find human beings really interesting as long as they're at a distance. So that's kind of my thing. I find them really interesting. I just don't enjoy engaging with them. But yeah. So yeah, that's kind of my guilty pleasure / obsession / mental disorder that I need to work on.
It's good to have goals.
Yeah, exactly. But 2018 is the year that I will stop doing it. I know for a fact.
So are you going to go cold turkey, or?
I'm actually starting with just going one level down. So yeah, so just click on their profile, but not go into their videos and their photos, because that's horrible. That's just weird. So I'm just going to start with going one level. So I'm allowed to click on their profile and lick on their not lick their profile. Click on their profile. Do not licking involved. There is nothing licking in there. I'm going to click on their profile. I'm only allowed to see their profile, but not click on any of the posts, not read any of the comments left on their pictures, and then not follow people who left comment on their pictures, because yeah, that's the extent of my mental disorder. But yeah, we'll get it in line. I'm only allowed to click once and see the profile.
It's like a never-ending cycle of doom.
It is a never-ending cycle of doom. Absolutely, it is.
So tell everybody where they can find you online.
Ooh, okay. So I am at thepersuasionrevolution.com. I also have a free Facebook community where I show my true colors. It's called 60-Second Persuasion. It is on Facebook, and I use it as my alter ego, where I actually get to show things that I can't show on my regular profile. So yeah, two places, thepersuasionrevolution.com and the 60-Second Persuasion.
Excellent. Everybody go check those out. You will be amazed.
Hopefully you will be amazed and not be disgusted, but yeah.
You might be a little bit disgusted.
I'm pretty sure they will be disgusted, but yeah, that's fine.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I've really enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you so much, Tara. It was absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. And I'm really sorry about the problem that we faced before we get started, but thank you so much for having me.
Anytime. Thank you for listening to Your Biz, Your Rules. If you've enjoyed this episode, I'd love it if you could leave me an honest review on iTunes. As a little thank you, the first 150 people to leave me feedback will get access to Conquer Your Content Plan, my exclusive workbook designed to help you dream up, draft, and leverage strategic standout content in next to no time. See you next week.